आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं मिस्टर स्मारक स्वैन। सर, आप FATF में सर्व कर रहे हैं। यू आर द डायरेक्टर ऑफ FATF सेल। हाउ डज इट वर्क सर?
FATF is the watchdog against money laundering and terrorist financing. If there's any country that does not participate in a FATF style regional body, by default they get into a blacklist.
Pakistan was grey listed, and were these concerns that the FATF raised on Pakistan?
Now, if a country is in the grey list and it is supposed to demonstrate some improvements, okay, if it does not demonstrate improvements, it can go into the blacklist, because FATF is like a waterfall. So first of all, they do a risk they develop an understanding of risk.
So sir, what is in 2025 की अब crypto exchanges में क्या है sir?
The primary concern with regard to cryptocurrencies was about AML, anti-money laundering, AML CFT. You look at any hack, be it the Bybit hack or the Virgirex hack or CoinDeces hack, necessarily you need an insider.
Sir, it's a very interesting case of Byju's. Like, what was the reason behind Byju's model? Why that business model doesn't work?
So like you take the case of Byju's or Unacademy, they are startups, okay, but they're not platforms, but they're actually traditional companies. They're just like, in my understanding, they're just like Vajiram and Ravi.
Money laundering कितना बड़ा threat है इंडिया के लिए?
Money laundering risk in India came from bank frauds, and the major terrorist financing threat came from state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan. Secondly, when you look at narco trafficking that happens in India, there are two principal vectors. One is Pakistan and the other is Myanmar. Now, the narcotics which have been trafficked into India, okay, they are very small in quantity. Right. If you look at the cocaine packet, it's a very small packet. But the money that you get by selling that packet clandestinely in India is huge.
Welcome to the new episode of जनमन गण। आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं मिस्टर स्मारक स्वैन।
Namaste.
Mr. Smarak Swain is an officer of the Indian Revenue Service. Mr. Swain is currently serving as the director of FATF cell in the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Smarak Swain एक बहुत interesting combination है, एक policy maker और एक academic के, और he has written some very interesting books on the intriguing world of cybercrime, money laundering, economic loopholes, and some high-profile scams. Thank you so much, sir, for being on the show. And let's begin with our questions about your work, about your scholarly work, your books, your publications. Sir, आप FATF में serve कर रहे हैं. You are the director of FATF cell. Financial Action Task Force, FATF. ये how does it work, sir? And इसका एक structure क्या होता है? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Pratik and Bhumika first for inviting me here. And a very good afternoon to everyone. So FATF is an international organization. Okay, so what happens is FATF is the watchdog against money laundering and terrorist financing, and also proliferation financing. It's an international watchdog against these three areas of risk that we see globally. And also, you can say that it is the apex organization in the world that fights financial crimes as such and tries to maintain the integrity of the financial system, the global financial system. How it operates is like this: it prepares the standards which are implemented across the globe. There are 39 members of FATF. Technically, there are 40 members, but the Russian Federation's membership is suspended. So there are 39 members in FATF, among which one is India. These 39 members, they take input from the entire globe, and then they deliberate and negotiate within themselves to develop some standards. These standards are called the FATF recommendations. These recommendations are required to be implemented by all countries in the world. Why they have to be implemented by all countries in the world? Because in a globalized world, every country is connected with every other country. It's a global integrated financial system. So any one country, if it becomes a weak link, okay, then the entire global financial system can be held at ransom.
Right.
So that's the reason why FATF usually uses a clause called you are only as strong as the weakest link in the network.
Right.
And they have formed this global network in which each and every country in the world is supposed to participate in a regional body. They call it FSRB, FATF style regional body, and undergo evaluations. It's a peer evaluation, peer-led evaluations, and demonstrate to what extent they comply with FATF recommendations, and what is and also demonstrate that they comply with the recommendations effectively.
Right. So, sir, you are saying it's enforceable. Does FATF's directives, do these directives have an enforceability, or it's like a norm? Can you tell us about that?
These are international standards.
Right.
Okay, so they are kind of, if we talk from a legal perspective, okay, these are kind of quasi law within a specific jurisdiction which has agreed to enforce it. Okay, now because every country is a sovereign country, okay, they are technically not enforceable in a country. However, the way it operates is this. Okay, every country is required to be part of a FATF style regional body. Okay, if there's any country that does not participate in a FATF style regional body, by default they get into a blacklist. And once a country is in a blacklist, all the other countries, okay, will impose countermeasures on those countries. At the current moment, there are two jurisdictions which are not part of any FATF style regional bodies. One of them is Iran, and the other is DPRK or North Korea. Okay, because they're not part of any FSRB, by default they are in the blacklist.
Right.
They're in the so-called FATF blacklist. And every other country which is part of the FATF network, they have to impose countermeasures on these two countries. There's a logic behind it. Why they have to impose countermeasures? So that the risk emanating from these two countries, the money laundering risk or terrorist financing risk or proliferation financing risk, they do not percolate over to the international financial network, and they do not. They are basically, if I can use the word, they are source of cancer.
Right.
For the international financial system, so that this source of cancer is blocked.
Right.
And transactions with these two countries are heavily monitored, so as to ensure that the risk arising from these two countries do not percolate over to the international financial system.
Right.
Okay, that's the reason why they have been blacklisted.
Okay, sir, हम बहुत news देखते हैं on Pakistan, right? That Pakistan was grey listed, and were these concerns that the FATF raised on Pakistan, were they mitigated? How were they mitigated? The Indian concerns on the FATF.
What happens in FATF is that FATF is governed by a set of rules and regulations.
Right.
Okay, so these are quite well established rules and regulations which govern FATF, and in every plenary of FATF, the FATF membership discusses various agenda issues and takes a decision on how to apply these rules and regulations. Okay, so other than the blacklist, okay, there is a grey list also. Okay.
Can you share the difference between the two lists, sir?
Okay, so the difference is that of gradation.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are strategic deficiencies in a country, strategic deficiencies in the anti-money laundering controls or the counter-financing of terrorism controls, we call it AML-CFT,
Right.
or the counter-proliferation financing controls in a country, it is called a grey-listed country. It is in the grey list. Okay. Whereas if a country does not participate in the FATF process at all, by default it is in the blacklist. Now, if a country is in the grey list and it is supposed to demonstrate some improvements, okay, if it does not demonstrate improvements, it can go into the blacklist. So these are two different grades. If a country is in the blacklist, there can be countermeasures against that country. Okay. Whereas if a country is in the grey list, what FATF informs the global network is that there are strategic deficiencies. So countries themselves have used the FATF grey list as an inspiration to take action against that country. For example, if a country X is in the grey list, okay, let's say a country Y, okay, a country Y is analyzing the money laundering risk or the terrorist financing risk from various countries. the central bank of that country Y will say, look, country X is in the gray list. Okay, I see significant risk from that country because there are strategic deficiencies in that country. So any transaction that I have with that country, I'll be monitoring it more vigorously. I'll be conducting enhanced due diligence of those transactions. And also, so moto, a country can impose countermeasures against that country. That is a possibility. But FATF per se does not say that if a country is in the gray list, you impose any specific countermeasures.
Okay.
But if a country is in the blacklist, FATF could say that you impose this specific countermeasure against that country.
Right. So before we move on to the next topic, we want to talk about how India has put its case to the FATF. Sir, India कैसे अपने concerns बताता है terror financing पे और इस global threat पे जिसका India बहुत शिकार है बहुत सालों से? How does India push its case? Can you tell us?
Okay. So rather than me telling about how India pushes its case,
yes.
okay, which is actually a confidential matter for me from my perspective. What I will rather tell you is about how a member of FATF, highlights within FATF about the risk that it is concerned about. Okay, so ideally, every member of FATF is responsible for ensuring that the international financial network remains safe. Okay, but of course, each member knows best about the regional risk that they perceive. They know more about the regional risk rather than the international risk. Okay, so what a member does is that the many ways in which a member can highlight to FATF what kind of risk that they see and how those risks can be mitigated. The first is by participating in the risk projects of FATF, because FATF is like a waterfall. So first of all, they do a risk they develop an understanding of risk about any particular issue or any particular topic or any particular hotspot in the world. Okay. Then the second one is making standards. This is how it flows. So on understanding of risk, they come out with many reports. These are very interesting reports. You'll find them on the website of FATF also. And these have a lot of persuasive value with regard to the banks and financial institutions. Be it the financial institutions of India or of the US or of Singapore, in any country, these financial institutions or the banks, they have compliance officers who try to assess risk emanating from a specific hotspot or a specific area on a regular basis. Okay, so developing this risk report is actually a very key part of the entire process. So a member of FATF actively participates, actively provides typologies or modus operandi, okay, about what are the recent trends with regard to the money laundering and terrorist financing risks. Okay, and these come out in the form of reports, which are again, as I told you, used by the financial institutions all over the world to develop their own risk understanding. So that is one way. Okay. Second way is whenever a mutual evaluation happens, a mutual evaluation is a peer review. Okay, but unlike many other peer reviews that you have heard about, a mutual evaluation is a very, very rigorous peer review, because a team of evaluators, they come from different countries from all over the world, and they assemble in your country, in an assessed country, doing a process called on-site. They stay in that country for 3 to 4 weeks. They interview all kinds of authorities, starting from police to other LEAs to the financial intelligence units to the central banks to the securities regulators, everyone. Okay, and also to the ministries. They try to develop an understanding of what is going on in that country. Okay, so at that point of time, okay, what a member country of FATF can do, okay, is that it can give some very specific inputs about what is wrong in that country, okay, to this team. So when this team goes, they can give very specific input about what is wrong in that country. And this team, what they do is that they look into those inputs, okay, from the perspective of international cooperation, also from the perspective of risk, okay, and then they assess that country. When that country is in the grey list, it is reviewed once in every 4 months. It is reviewed once in every 4 months. Now, this review process, a FATF member country can play a critical role by asking the right kind of questions, by showing the right kind of evidences.
So, sir, let's talk about your book, Digital Fortunes. So as you know, sir, 2018 में RBI ने banks को ban कर दिया था to support the cryptos. So 2021 में Supreme Court ने वो ban हटा दिया. 22 के अंदर सर हमारे इंडिया में इंट्रोड्यूस किया 30% टैक्स क्रिप्टो पे, प्रॉफिट के ऊपर टैक्स. 23 में सर हमारा FIU ने सारे जितने भी एक्सचेंजेस हैं उनको बता दिया कि हमें इसे रजिस्टर करना जरूरी है. एंड 24 में जितने भी एक्सचेंजेस थे उनको हमने, जितने भी अनरजिस्टर्ड थे उनको सब पे क्वेश्चंस हो रहे हैं. तो सर व्हाट इज इन 2025 की अब क्रिप्टो एक्सचेंजेस में क्या है सर, किस तरीके से अब इंडिया इस डिजिटल इकोनॉमी की तरफ बढ़ रहा है?
Okay. Well, you are very आपने बहुत अच्छे से प्रेजेंट किया है the evolution of so-called regulation of virtual assets and the sector of virtual assets. Okay, or crypto assets. Now the question that you are asking is a difficult one to answer because it's not a single question. It's a multifarious question. Now the thing is, crypto as a sector is not a single sector. There are different kinds of cryptocurrencies that we see in the market. There are some currencies which are actually there are also some stable coins which are not technically not cryptocurrencies but blockchain driven derivatives of some foreign exchange or some other assets. So they're basically asset-backed coins. Okay. Now the regulation of such a multifarious sector, okay, will be multifarious. Now there are different dimensions to the regulation also. There is a microprudential regulation, there is a consumer protection, there is cybersecurity, and of course there is AML CFT, anti-money laundering regulations. The primary concern with regard to cryptocurrencies was about AML, anti-money laundering, AML CFT. But of course, there's another big concern also, that is about monetary policy. So those countries which have closed economies or where the money or where the capital markets are not completely open, the capital convertibility is not that open. Those countries face significant challenges from the prevalence of cryptocurrencies. Okay. That is a fact. Okay, but let us forget that. You talked mostly. I mean, the evolution that you talked about, it relates mostly to the AML controls. Now, anti-money laundering regulations, okay, were required in the case of crypto assets because they are generally high risk assets. So this regulation started in India in 2023, as you rightly pointed out. After this regulation started in India, FATF came to India. Okay, and an assessment team of FATF came to India to assess India's performance on various aspects. Okay, one of the aspects on which they evaluated India was on virtual assets. Okay, and after going back from India, they came out with a report, the Mutual Evaluation Report of India 2024. In that report, they have appreciated the work that India has done with regard to crypto assets sector. So the regulation imposed by FIU India has been very much well appreciated. They have said that it is recent, but it is already showing a lot of effectiveness, which means that our regulation is quite effective and it has managed to significantly mitigate the risk arising from the sector, the money laundering risk arising from the sector, money laundering and terrorist financing risk arising from the sector. What it also means is that crypto exchanges are actively working with FIU India, okay, to develop their anti-money laundering controls. They are doing customer due diligence and they are also doing transaction monitoring. Whenever they see any suspicious transactions, they are required to report it to FIU India. And that effectively mitigates a lot of risk that arises to India. Further, in 2024, what happened is, India also managed to make Binance and a few other offshore exchanges come to the table and register with FIU India. By doing that, significant risk arising, money laundering risk arising from offshore exchanges have also been mitigated. Now that is about AML. Okay, so in 2025, if you ask my personal opinion, we are sitting, we are happily sitting with good regulations on AML safety. But of course, it is good. It is not excellent. It can never be excellent because it is a very dynamic field, and new risks will keep coming up, and we'll have to keep watching out for them. But with regard to consumer protection, okay, with regard to macroprudentials, the regulation is yet to come. The government is yet to decide. Okay, there's a question that every government in the world faces, whether you want to regulate cryptos or you want to ban cryptos. If you want to regulate cryptos, how do you regulate cryptos? Okay, if you want to ban, do you want to ban all kinds of cryptos or do you want to ban specific asset classes?
Yes.
Okay, like for example, the US has banned privacy coins like Monero. Specific asset classes have been banned. Okay, so that is a question that every country in the world is facing, and some countries have already started regulating. Some countries are in the process of regulating, and some countries are watching out about what will happen in the future.
Yes, sir. So you have talked about the crypto exchanges, and WazirX, the India's #1 crypto exchanges in 2024, got cyber attack, and recently also CoinDCX got cyber attack. So what cyber hygiene they should have maintained to prevent those attacks? And now investors, it's 1 year and investors are still facing legal things.
Okay. So the hacks, the hack that happened in WazirX and the hack that happened in CoinDCX are, I would say, substantially different. Okay. So it's been a period of 1 year, but significant progress has been made by the industry in this 1 year. So when the hack happened in WazirX, we do not know much about what happened in that hack. Not much is there in the public forum. What we know is that the hackers are at large, okay, and that was a time 1 year back when WazirX hack happened, when there was no regulation on the cybersecurity aspect of crypto exchanges. Crypto exchanges are generally very, very vulnerable to hacks because of the very nature that they are, because of the very nature. If you have heard about the North Korean group, hacking group called Lazarus Group, which is a very infamous group in the world, they have done some very big hacks. Most recent one being the Bybit case. Okay, and it's so easy to store cryptocurrencies once you have hacked those cryptocurrencies, that they become the natural choice for the natural targets for hacks. Okay, so that is very natural. It was very natural that crypto exchanges will be hacked. If a crypto exchange is not hacked, I will ask this question: is this crypto exchange serious enough? I mean, do you really do any good business? So they'll always be subject to a lot of attacks, cyber attacks. When WazirX case happened, there was no regulation on crypto, on cyber. There was no cybersecurity regulation in India. Okay, we do not know if in the WazirX case the laptops were hardened. We do not know if appropriate cyber hygiene was followed by WazirX, because it was completely one company deciding what kind of initiatives to take, whether they had the appropriate CISO, whether the CISO was doing all that the CISOs are required to do. Okay, but anyways, the WazirX hack happened. After the WazirX hack happened, what happened is that the industry in India, they came together under the banner of BWA, Bharat Web3 Association, and they came out with their own self-regulation. Okay, they came out with their own criteria about what are the best practices for cybersecurity. Now, I won't say the entire industry is represented by BWA, but all the major players are members of BWA. So they came together under the platform of BWA and discussed what can we do to mitigate the risk so that we protect our consumers, our customers. And then they came out, I believe it was a very longest report. I have not gone through the entire one report, but they have come out with a very good report. They have looked into the best practices in other countries. So it is a case of self-regulation, which has significantly mitigated the risk, at least for the bigger ones, at least for the bigger exchanges, if I understand that well. So when this CoinDCX hack happened, it was a very interesting hack. You look at any hack, be it the Bybit hack or the WazirX hack or CoinDCX hack, necessarily you need an insider. Necessarily you need an insider. Why do you need an insider? Because you need to inject your malware into their system. Okay, to inject the malware into their system, you need someone on the inside to install your malware in a hardened computer, in a hardened laptop. Okay, so generally the general playbook is like this: the hackers will approach a few employees of the exchange and talk to them. Okay, the hackers will give them an offer that why don't you work for us also? And the many people, many employees, who like to moonlight.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll catch the bait and they'll say, okay, I'll work on your project as well, but they'll do it on their personal laptop,
Oh.
not on the office laptop or or any hardened system or in any system which can infect the entire network. Okay, but a time will come when they'll put a lot of pressure on this person, saying that oh, why don't you just check this check this code or run this code in the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes. They'll put that employee under a lot of time pressure, and that employee while working in the office, he or she will run that code. And once the code is run, the malware is inside your in your hardened computer, and as a result, it has a visibility of the network. After that, you study the network over the next 3 or 4 months to understand how the architecture works, how the cybersecurity works. My guess is that in the CoinDCX case, they saw that the cybersecurity controls are quite good. It is my guess. Okay, because the hackers were unable to get to the cold wallets in which the investor money was kept.
Oh, that's
okay. So the investor, they could not touch any of the investor money. What they did is that they, over a period of time, they found a vulnerability in the operational account, because you keep moving funds from your operational
But so
account.
in WazirX, it was like investors' accounts were hacked.
Yes, investors' accounts, investors' funds which were kept in a cold wallet. In fact, I would say, if I'm not wrong, the WazirX hack was the biggest hack of a cold wallet in the world. Okay, in this case also, I would say that the investors' funds were kept in cold wallets. They were unable to jump over to the cold wallets. So what they did is that they hacked into the operational account of CoinDCX. Now, this is a cat and mouse game which will keep continuing. Hackers are becoming more and more complex by the day. Okay, and this is a real vulnerability that is there in all the crypto exchanges in the world. I give you the example of Bybit, which is the biggest one in recent times, which was perpetrated by Lazarus Group. Okay, but this is something which will keep happening. What the exchanges need to do is that they need to learn from each other. They need to collaborate with each other to understand what kind of cybersecurity flaws are there, what kind of vulnerabilities are there, and how they can mitigate the vulnerabilities.
Sir, in 2016. One of the India's founder, his name was Satish Kumbhani. So he invented this BitConnect.
Yeah.
And then all the investors, they put their money, because he promised investors unreal returns.
Right.
And then, sir, it turned out to be the biggest scam in the crypto history. So
Right.
why investors then was very in hurry when there was no crypto growing thing in the India that time?
Okay. So how do I put it? So if you see when we say crypto, okay, we talk about many different asset classes. Okay. The crypto that was the crypto when we see Bitcoin, okay, the crypto that was envisaged by Satoshi Nakamoto was a decentralized crypto. It was completely decentralized. Most investors do not understand what is the meaning of decentralized, what is the meaning of centralized. The crypto envisaged by Satoshi Nakamoto was completely decentralized, due to which you cannot manipulate Bitcoin in any way. Okay, it's a peer network on the blockchain. Okay, where Bitcoin exists and where the transactions are happening. Each and every transaction is recorded. The value of Bitcoin is driven by the market, by market dynamics and the demand in the market. Okay. At the same time, there are other cryptocurrencies which are more centralized, in which there is there's some degree of centralized control by an administrator. Now, when there is an administrator, and these are all new, due to which the regulation is also a light regulation in most countries. Now, that administrator can always manipulate these centralized cryptos. Okay, so most of these centralized cryptos are subject to high risk cryptos, because you are giving a money to a stranger, effectively. because that administrator, you do not know him. He nor her. Okay. And that's the reason why in the crypto market you see a lot of Ponzi schemes and a lot of pyramid schemes. These Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, they come out in the form of new tokens. They promise you high returns. Okay, and then they defraud you. Okay, it's a very simple playbook. In fact, Ponzi schemes, if you look at the Ponzi schemes in the last 50 years or 60 years, okay, or in the last 200 or 400 years, you'll see that Ponzi schemes usually follow a very simple routine, a very simple playbook they follow. Okay, it's cash in and cash out, the playbook that they follow, but they always have a product on which they can build a dream and they can pitch it to you. At some point of time, I think they were selling real estate, they were selling timber mills, they were selling eucalyptus trees, they also sold emu farms. We know about some Ponzi schemes which did that. On today's date, many of them are selling cryptocurrencies because the common man does not understand cryptocurrencies. They have heard about the increasing valuation of Bitcoin over a period of time. They say, okay, fine, this guy is offering me some crypto and saying that the value will increase manyfold. So let me invest there. And that is where they get trapped. So in the Bitconnect case that you are talking about, that is a very typical Ponzi scheme. The token that that Bitconnect was offering was a completely centralized token. Okay, its value can be determined by the promoters themselves. Why it grew over a period so suddenly is because it came into the fore at a time when there was demonetization. In India, the promoters are mostly based in Gujarat, in Surat, in India, and over 3 to 4 months, it grew very rapidly in India. Mostly because after demonetization happened, some people with money from questionable sources were trying to look for a way out for washing that money, for laundering that money. Okay, and then comes a guy who says, "Look, I have a token which will give you a return within 3 months, which is 100% return." Why will you not be interested in that?
Yes.
You have easy money, which is a liability for you, and he's saying he'll give you a return of 200% in 3 months, and that return will be in new currency. Okay, so why not? So they started investing in Bitconnect. But the problem with Ponzi schemes is that if you go very fast, okay, then you fall very fast. Okay, so it had grown so huge and it had promised so much of returns that after 3-4 months it found it unviable, and so Bitconnect grew to become a global Ponzi scheme. They had Bitconnect. What it did is it hired commission agents from South Korea to US, from all over the world. Okay, and the commission agents were also promised very good return, commission for getting new clients, and new clients are also promised very good returns, and a lot of money was taken from them, and that's the reason why FBI also got involved, and FBI were also started changing the promoters of Bitconnect, and then I think FBI got involved after it fell. Okay, it started in 2016 and it had a very quick rise, very quick fall. By the end of 2017, it had all but busted.
Sir, people know about IPOs, the startup, but don't know about ICO to raise money, initial coin offerings. So, like, what is ICO and how people can participate?
Okay, first thing is how people can participate. Technically, let us first go into what is ICO. Okay, ICO is initial coin offering. Okay, as the name implies, it means that anyone, you or I, we come up and we say that we are starting a new cryptocurrency. Okay, and before the cryptocurrency starts, we are going to make an initial offering. Okay, and we go and offer in the market that if you want to take this coin, why don't you subscribe to this coin? So there will be a date on which there will be an airdropping of these coins, and you can subscribe to the coin at a very cheap price. There's an implicit messaging that in the future the value of this currency will grow significantly, and you can take windfall benefits when the value grows. That is what ICO is. Okay. Now the problem with ICOs is that we need to ask this question whether ICOs can be offered in India at all. Okay, because IPOs, we know that it is completely regulated by SEBI. It is regulated by SEBI because IPOs are basically in the nature of securities. You are raising money from the market, from the retail customers. Similarly, in the case of ICO, you are raising money from the retail customers. You cannot raise money from the retail customers in India without going through the securities regulator. So ideally, okay, you have to register with SEBI in some form, maybe as a collective investment scheme, which is mentioned in section 13 and 12A of SEBI Act. Okay, you need to license yourself as a collective investment scheme, or in some other way you need to license yourself with SEBI. Now you're not getting a license from SEBI for starting for floating an ICO. So technically, an ICO is working in a regulatory is working in vacuum, and in India, my understanding is that an ICO may be illegal.
Oh, so ICO has no regulation till date yet.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So it's a very interesting case of Byju's, sir. It got a lot of investment, it got a lot of million users, and it has also got a lot of attraction, but then the downfall comes. Like, what was the reason behind Byju's model? Why that business model doesn't work?
Okay. So this is something that I have covered in this book, Digital Fortunes. Not the question of Byju's, the question in general about the value, the value creation in the digital economy. Why I have covered this topic in this book is because there is still a lot of misunderstanding among the general public about how valuations in the digital economy work. Surprisingly, when we interact with tax officers, we see that they are also confused about how valuations work. And when we do some public consultation, or when we interact with some people from the industry, from the VC industry, we are surprised to see that many VCs also do not have a clear understanding about how this works. How value creation happens in the digital economy. Now, there's a very fundamental, very simple concept. In the traditional economy, the value creation, businesses are organized in the form of pipelines. Whereas in the digital economy, they are organized in the form of platforms. The difference is pipeline versus platform. So in pipelines, the value creation happens by optimizing costs and increasing the productivity. Right? That is in pipelines. In platforms, the value creation happens through network effects. Okay, through network effects. So whenever a new digital company comes, okay, what happens is that anyone who wants to value it, they start thinking that this is a platform company. So the advantage of a platform company is that if they play it well, they ultimately in the market, in the platform market, they will either be a duopoly or a monopoly. They say the winner takes all. Okay, so if the company plays it well, it will definitely become big, and when it becomes big, it has a monopoly over the market. That is how the platform economy works, and that is where the value creation is justified. The valuation is justified. However, there are some traditional companies or pipeline companies which have said that they are digital companies. Okay, and because they use a lot of they make a good use of digital media, many investors as well as normal common man, they misunderstand these companies and start thinking that they are platform companies. They're actually not platform companies. So like you take the case of Byju's or Unacademy, they are startups. Okay, but they're not platforms.
Okay.
They're digital startups, no doubt, but they are actually traditional companies. They're just like, in my understanding, they're just like Vajiram and Ravi.
A traditional business gone digital.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the reason why the value generation that happens in these cases, okay, that cannot justify a huge valuation. Okay, and that probably cannot justify you burning too much of money, because platforms, they burn a lot of money because there is a gestation period. Because there's a period in which you capture the market, and after that you rule the market.
Yes.
Okay, that concept does not work in traditional economies. Okay, the unit economics works in the traditional economy. Okay, probably what happens in the case of traditional pipelines, which are being run like digital platforms, is that you burn a lot of money and the unit economics does not make sense. So, and then the company unravels.
So, sir, Blinkit, is it like how's the grocery online payments, the big basket, it's not growing, but Blinkit has grown. So how they have, what is the difference in their models?
Well, I had analyzed the grocery model some 2 years back. Some okay, but a lot of things have happened in the last 2 years which I have not kept pace with. So probably it is not right for me to comment on that now. What I can tell you is that the grocery model is a very tricky model. Is a very tricky business because a grocery model, unlike an Amazon, which is a platform, okay, a grocery model would not necessarily benefit from becoming a platform. Okay, because in grocery the margins are very, very narrow, and the margins will always remain narrow. Okay, and in grocery the ask is for you to have a very wide network for delivering for delivering consumables to people. The order values will be small, and the consumers are very, very price sensitive. So there are various factors due to which a platform may not be very, very conducive in the grocery market, unlike a pipeline.
Sir, we'll move to some concluding questions. And with my first part of the concluding question is, Scammer's Trail is your latest book.
Yeah.
Please tell us about this book. It's a fictional account, but also there is a big social message. Please, sir.
Okay. So Scammer's Trail, yes, it is it's a work of fiction, but it derives from some of the modus operandi of scammers that we have seen in recent times.
Right.
What is happening is that in most of these scams are being perpetrated by professionally run or corporatized scam compounds, which are based in some countries with a little bit lax law enforcement. You can take the case of, for example, Myanmar, in which civil war is going on. Okay, and many of the insurgency groups are getting funded by these scam compounds. So it is in their interest to patronize the scam compounds.
Right.
Okay, and to let them prosper. Okay, but what is happening is that these scam compounds are defrauding many citizens in India, in many other countries in the world. People are getting defrauded in many ways. First thing is they are trafficking, they are enticing Indian citizens, Indian residents to work in those scam compounds,
Right.
by saying that they'll get very good returns, they'll get very good salary if they come and work there. They're being enticed by being told that they'll be working on some software, but after they reach those scam compounds, they're imprisoned there and they're made to scam other people.
Okay.
They're made to scam their own compatriots.
Okay.
And these other people in India are mostly people, vulnerable people. They're either senior citizens or people or housewives or youngsters who are looking for employment and who are looking for quick riches.
My question on money laundering, terror financing, which is also your specialization as a policymaker.
Yeah.
So, money laundering कितना बड़ा threat है अब इंडिया के लिए? Does it impact common man, or is it something which goes on in those big circles? And how has the threat scenario changed over the last 10 years in the field of money laundering?
Okay. See, money laundering will always be money laundering and terrorist financing. They will always be matters of important concern for the common man.
Right.
Because when money is being laundered,
Right.
it is ultimately the common man who pays for it.
Right.
Okay. So if we are talking about the threat landscape in India, okay, back in we are sitting in 2025.
Right.
Back in 2015, the major threat in India, money laundering risk in India, came from bank frauds, and the major terrorist financing threat came from state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan. Okay, if we look at the TF threat, the TF vector has not changed in the last 10 years. Okay, it has remained constant, but the PF vectors have changed significantly. In 2015, bank fraud was a major threat, and when banks lose money, they have to recover the money somewhere. So when banks lose money, what they do is that they increase the interest rate on loans that they give you.
Oh.
Okay, it has to come from somewhere, right? Okay, some banks are forced to close down because of frauds that happen in the bank, and their consumers and their clients have also suffered. Some of the including some of the cooperative banks. But what the government of India has done is that it has identified those issues. Appropriate enforcement action has happened, and appropriate mitigating measures, appropriate preventive measures have been taken.
Right.
By the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, by the Financial Intelligence Unit, by CEIB, Central Economic Intelligence Bureau, and many other organizations which are working in this ecosystem, due to which the risk has been significantly mitigated by now. A new risk which came up during COVID was that of cybercrime that we see. At that time, the major risk was the major vector was from Chinese gangsters, okay, based in China as well as in Southeast Asia. Initially, there were loan apps, the fraudulent loan apps which are being used to defraud Indian victims, okay, to victimize Indian citizens and to compromise our economic security. But it's a cat and mouse game which on which you just have to be on your toes.
Right.
And because India has been on its toes, it took many mitigating measures. For example, it took many steps to ensure that it becomes difficult to form cell companies. On today's date, when you go to incorporate a company, while ensuring that the ease of doing business is not hampered, the MCA ensures that there is a proper geotagging of your registered office. Okay, there's a more accurate due diligence to understand what your company is going to be about. Okay. And there's an ongoing due diligence to ensure that you are not a cell company. Right. You're not being used by someone to run their nefarious activities. Right. And of course, cyber-enabled fraud, which keeps going on now. On today's date, the biggest risk is from cyber-enabled fraud, right, especially because many of these scam compounds have shifted to Southeast Asia. Right. Okay. Right. And from Southeast Asia, they're engaging in pig butchering, investment frauds, many kinds of digital arrest, sextortion, even online child sexual exploitation. And they have become a menace not only for India, for many countries in the world. Okay. And India is taking appropriate mitigating measures. And it's a continuing process.
And on terror financing, sir, what is the linkage between drugs, narco trafficking, and terror financing? Are they linked, and how are they linked?
They are linked at the hip. I can tell you that they're linked at the hip. I'll give you an example of how that happens. You must have heard about the smuggling, the smuggling of oil. Okay, the oil between that happens in the border between Iran and Pakistan. So it's a very open smuggling that happens, and I think about 200 or 300 trucks carry oil from Iran to Pakistan through that porous border. Now, when 200 or 300 trucks carry such quantum of oil, how is it possible that customs officials and army officials are not aware about it? Okay, they are usually aware about it. Okay, they usually get kickbacks. Okay, so there's usually a very complex linkage between corruption, organized crime. That is the first step. Right. A complex linkage between corruption and organized crime. Secondly, you must have seen that after Afghanistan banned opium cultivation, much of the narco traffickers, they have shifted to some areas of Pakistan. Okay, and earlier Pakistan was the conduit for narco trafficking. Okay, between Afghanistan and many other countries. Now it has become a conduit as well as a source of narco trafficking. So, and you think about it, all of those organized crime activities that are happening, against that, a huge amount of illicit gains are being made. All of those illicit gains are coming not through official channels, not being recorded. They're coming through the hawala channels without a paper trail. Be it oil smuggling, or be it narco trafficking, or be it any other clandestine business, including contraband that is being done in Pakistan. So it is much easier for that kind of funds, okay, to be diverted by the state, which actively sponsors terrorism, towards financing of terrorist activities. That is one angle to it. Secondly, when you look at narco trafficking that happens in India, there are two principal vectors. of narco trafficking that happens in India. One is Pakistan and the other is Myanmar. Myanmar is a vector because there's a civil war going on and there are insurgency groups which are acting autonomously and they're getting funds from some of these organized criminal groups. Okay, so that's the reason why it becomes a significant risk vector. But the major vector for India, as you know pretty well, is Pakistan. Now, the narcotics which have been trafficked into India, okay, they are very small in quantity.
Right.
If you look at the cocaine packet, it's a very small packet. But the money that you get by selling that packet clandestinely in India is huge. So you can use drones to airdrop drugs, but you cannot use drones to take such huge amount of cash out of India. So when so the proceeds of the narco trafficking, some of it is being sent via a hawala route, okay, via a very long channel involving Dubai, but much of it is being used by the Pakistani handlers for financing terrorism in India. So that's I would say that's why I would say that they're tied at the hip. And so money laundering and terrorist financing, we do not usually see them as separate concepts. We see them as very, very interrelated concepts.
Thank you so much, sir. What an eye-opening session it was.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The minute detail you have shared, it was wonderful to have you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And we'll be back with an interesting new episode like this. Please like and subscribe our page.